Hi, I'm Sandy Barker, president and co-founder of Go Rush Cure Foundation. Welcome back to Rush Podcasts. If you've missed any of our other episodes, I invite you to go back and check them out. They're just interviews with everyday heroes, our siblings, our child with cancer heroes, our volunteers, our parents, and other people we've met along the way. Today, I am very excited to introduce to you my beautiful, amazing, wonderful daughter, Kendall Barker, who is the sister of our founding hero, Christian Barker. Our experiences are very different during Christian's battle with cancer and his passing, from me being the mom and Kendall being the sister. But I really feel like Kendall can give us a lot of great insight on what it's like to be a sibling going through this. So welcome.
Hi. Great to be here.
So let's start. Tell us about your relationship with Christian. And I mean, Kendall was his favorite person in the world. No offense, Garrett. He loved you too. But,
no offense.
Tell us about that and your relationship.
I was the baby of the family, so I was only about 7 when he got diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And even before his diagnosis, because I was the baby, I was babied by Christian and Christian only. Garrett's the middle brother. Garrett liked to pick on me and exclude me from their boy stuff. And Christian was always like my
protector.
My protector. He just always wanted me to be included. He always wanted to watch over me and play with me, even when Garrett didn't want that, and Garrett wanted Christian all to himself. He'd pray with me every night. He'd read books with me every night, bedtime stories. We'd cuddle. I remember, like, first thing in the morning, I'm not a morning person. I never have been. And the first thing in the morning, I'd always just want to see Christian before school, and, like, we'd ride to school together and stuff. We just had a very special bond, even, like, when I was younger. And I just remember as a kid just really feeling like that stereotypical, like, when you're the youngest of 3 and you're a girl and you have big brothers that will always take care of you and protect you. I just always felt that way. And now, like, looking back, I always knew that he was taking charge of that and making me feel, like, protected and included, and just being, honestly, my best friend from when I was little.
Mm-hmm. And Garrett definitely has a different way of showing it, but he's
a great brother, but yeah,
he would, anybody that would come up, it would be the same way. He would have your back no matter what. I mean, it just, It was a different relationship as a parent, seeing you guys played together a lot, you and Garrett, and then Garrett and Christian. And then Christian was just softer with you. Mm-hmm. Like, he had fun with Garrett and Garrett had fun with him.
Yeah.
But he definitely rocked you to bed. I mean, it was a really, really cool relationship. So your journey goes back to when you were 7.5 years old when he got sick. Mm-hmm. So can you think of some difficult memories, some happy memories when you think back that far from when he was diagnosed? What memories come to mind that, make you happy, and some of them that are a little more challenging?
Well, anyone who's in this position who has a close loved one, or in my case, a sibling who's diagnosed, you really never forget the milestones. You never forget, and that includes the negative milestones. I'll never forget, I was in class at Stony Brook, and I remember someone went on the intercom, called Garrett Barker and Kendall Barker to the principal's office. And I was like, I've never done anything to get pulled into the principal's office. I knew if they were pulling my brother into it, was not something that was good. So we went down there, and I remember you and Dad were there, and we were sitting there with the principal, and she was basically saying, your mom and dad want to take you home, and they want to talk to you about some stuff. And that's when you guys told us that Christian had cancer. And we went home, and that I'm 25 now, and that happened when I was like 7. And I'll never forget. I literally remember being in that position like it was yesterday. Just things like that. They really stick with you. Just life-altering moments like that. Like, you don't think it's going to change your life, and it does.
Came prepared. Had a feeling this was going to happen.
But from then on out, like that moment forward, I felt like our family was close before, but we were like one now. Like, we were going through we all knew that. I mean, I was young, so I didn't really know the caliber of the situation was going to be so extreme, and so like shattering for our family. But I knew that it wasn't going to be a fun journey for all of us to go through, but I knew that we were going to go through it together. And I always felt like even us being separated from Seattle to Orange County, like we were still going to be a family, and we still were going to be close, even how far we were away from each other. I remember Christian first went to Chalk and CHLA, and I remember just in the pediatric cancer area of the hospital, there's a bunch of video games that you can rent out. There's bikes, there's all kinds of games. And I just remember Garrett and I just always looking for something to do to keep Christian entertained. And I mean, we had to sit in the hospital for hours and hours and hours a day. And we knew that Christian was going through something that like he was never prepared for. And he didn't want to sit in a hospital bed or a hospital room or go through chemo or anything. But we kind of just had to be there for him, like he was always there for us. So that's something I also will always remember, is just how many things we did together, just the three of us. And I always joke, like, Garrett would pick on me before. He was like, Christian was the protector and Garrett was the one who gave me my thick skin, but he was just being an older brother. And this was the time of my life where I really felt like Garrett showed me how much he loved me and Christian, by being there for all of us too. And Garrett's a softie, I know, like he shows it in his own ways. And that was like really the first time. I mean, he was only 3 years older than me.
Yeah, he was 10 and a half.
So that was like the first time in my life where I saw him like actually show how much he loved all of us, and kind of put that like big brother front to the side and just be there for both of us too. So yeah, you really never forget everything. As the years pass and stuff, you know, you grow to make those memories at the front lines of all the bad things that happened. You still remember them, but all the good memories, you put those first, and you choose to remember those because you really can't survive and get through things like this any other way.
I think the memories that stand out the most with you is when we were in Seattle, Gary would take Kendall and Garrett to visit Christian and I in Seattle, because we were there for a better part of a year and a half between the 2 bone marrow transplants. So every other week, you guys would fly there from like Friday to Monday. And as soon as I knew that they were coming, Christian wouldn't feel well, and he was kind of, just having a hard time sometimes. And as soon as Garrett and Kendall would walk in, I mean, he just perked up. That was his joy, was seeing you guys, and Dad, of course, too. But I mean, you guys were what gave him the most joy, and then when you'd get there, you always went in the craft room and made crafts for people and handed them out to all the different people on the floor and that kind of thing. I think one of the things, and I don't want to focus on the difficult memories, but the thing that I remember that always does this is when I was in Seattle. I've told you this. When I was in Seattle, and we were separated for a long, long time. I didn't live at home for almost 2 years. So, and a few times you called me and you're just like, Mom, I need you home. And thinking about this and doing this interview And you know how much we love, all of our siblings. I mean, you're my daughter. And so I think for me, when I think of that, it breaks my heart because you needed me. You really did. And I couldn't be there. And so this is why I'm glad we're doing this episode, because people don't realize what siblings go through. I mean, it's such a hard journey for them. And
especially being like, being 7 and seeing your mom fly on a jet with Christian, where Christian would fly on a jet because he was so, like, his immune system was so weak he couldn't even fly on a plane like Garrett and my dad and I. And that was like the one thing that I was like, oh, like, he must really be sick. And then, but it didn't really register with me at the time, like, the sacrifice that you were making was because he was so sick. It's not like you could just get him treatment here in Orange County. It wasn't what was best for him. You were doing anything that you could that was best for him.
Yeah.
Anything and everything. And the older I get, the more I realize, like, that's unconditional love and just selflessness that you just, like, have embodied since the moment that you found out. Honestly, the moment you found out you were pregnant with Christian, like, every step of the way, whether you were pregnant with him or you had 3 kids in front of you, like, you were just selfless. And now that I'm old enough to realize that, I wish I wasn't 7 when all this happened and I made you feel that way, because I now look at it like you did everything you could to be the best mom that you could have been. And the older I get, the more I'm just like, that's the kind of woman that every mom needs to be.
But you didn't make me feel that way. You needed me. Mm-hmm. You were a 7-year-old scared little girl and you needed me. So I don't look at it like that at all. And I want you to know that. It was hard for me because I wanted to be there for you too, because you needed me. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that. It is a hard time. You want your mom there. And like I said, this is where I want to underscore this. There's so many families that felt exactly like you do. So many siblings that need their mom, their dad, and that can't happen because they're in the hospital with their sibling and stuff. So again, that's why it's so important for us to focus on the siblings, because what they're going through is so hard too. Mm-hmm. And it's filled with silver linings as well, but it's hard too. What helped when you were going through everything? Was there something that you could think of that did make it a little bit easier, that made you smile?
Honestly, everything that...
Grandma?
Yeah, Grandma. It's my best friend. She practically lived with us for the entire time that you were in Seattle. And she, for those 2 years, whenever you were in Seattle and you weren't here and you weren't, on the phone with me, she was raising me and, just absolutely, we couldn't have gotten through any of that without her.
I agree.
But specifically, like, when we were in the hospital for so long, like in Seattle. So I went to, like, a secondary school when we were in Seattle. When Christian's treatment was, like, really full force, we went to Hutch School. And it's basically a secondary school where the siblings and honestly some cancer patients that are doing better enough to go to school but are still inpatient, they'll go to this school, and you basically, I don't know if it's the same for every kid, but my Mr. Shoup sent my work over from Stony Brook, and I would just sit there and work on it, and there would be tutors and teachers and stuff. And then, like, once a week we would go do this, like, cool activity, and it basically just made me feel like, it put it in perspective for me that everybody in my class was a completely different age than me. It was like kindergarten through 8th grade in this small little school. There was only about 20 of us, but every kid was either a sibling, because Garrett was in my class too. Every kid was either a sibling or a kid that was also going through treatment. And it put in perspective for me that, like, these kids are just the same as we are. Their lives are just as, they're the same. Mm-hmm. And
did that bring you comfort?
It
because
gave me
they got
so much comfort. Good. Knowing that, like, they're going through everything the same, and they're still having to go to school and do their homework and read, and it just made us all like bond. I still remember like half the kids' names. Like I couldn't I remember like all the activities that we did and stuff together. So that was really comforting, just knowing that I was able to bond with kids that were going through the same thing, while also like I missed going to school at that point. I missed all my friends back home. But I was able to like make new friends there and stuff. So I really loved that. And also when we were in the hospital, specifically going into the craft room and making crafts next to, just feeling like, I'm not kidding, it would be me at a table with like 5 girls my age, and all of them would be bald. All of them would be going through chemo. And it just felt like they were the exact same, because they were. And it was comforting knowing that like we could still do the things that we loved together. And it also gave me comfort when people would reach out to our family and want to help, like send us an iPod or something. That was like the big thing then. Send us an iPod, or just like give us encouragement. Like I was so young then, to where like a word of encouragement could only go so far. But when people really like wanted to help and wanted to come and see us in the hospital and give us like love and gifts sometimes, like it truly, looking back, like it was like Christmas. Like it was something that we didn't expect, but we really appreciated as a family, just people showing that they care. And a lot of them, they didn't even know us. They just knew us from Caring Bridge or like word of mouth, like friend of a friend, and they all wanted to help, and that made all the difference in the journey.
One thing that, and something you just said that made me think, we always tell people, you know, kids going through the cancer journey, they are exactly like kids that are healthy, but they're going through, you know, a lot. They're having to you know, fight their cancer. What you just said reminded me, it's the same for siblings. Siblings who are, you know, fortunate enough to have healthy brother or sister, it's the same thing. When I would see Kendall in the playroom and the craft room, she was, like she said, literally at a table. She was the only one with hair, and she's chit-chatting like, because I remember you said to me, well, you know, they don't have hair. And I go, they're exactly the same as you, but they're sick. But they're the same. And so you're like, okay. And then that was it. And she had, you know, it was the same thing. You know, she really, I think, meshed with these other kids, because she realized so fast that, oh yeah, they are just like me, but they're going through a lot, you know. And you were down in the playroom and the craft room all the time, and you would make crafts and pass them out. And yeah, that was fun. Okay. So our journey what we've gone through has been a lot, you know, not just him fighting cancer for 20 months, but after he passed away and since, both good and bad. How has it affected your life? What things have been challenging? What things, you know, have you thought about that was a silver lining for you?
So the hard parts is like, I'm 25 now, so he didn't even make it to 25. And I just think of all the things that I've done in life, graduating high school, graduating college, all the things that they're things that sometimes I take for granted, the ability, like that I was able to do these things. And I'm just like, I think about it every single day. Like, what would he be doing? What would he have majored in? Like, would he have a family yet? I think about all of that every day. Like, there's seriously not, it's been 16 years this year. There's not a day that goes by that I don't wonder what could have been. And the hardest part is selfishly, when I have a bad day, I'm like, I just wish he was here. Like, I just know that he would know what to say. He would, you know, when I'm in a predicament, I'm like, he would know exactly what to do. Yeah. And he would know exactly what to say. And I could go over to his house or his apartment and just get a big hug. I just know that. So that's definitely the hardest part. It truly rocks you, and you never change from that, from longing for that and wanting that. So that definitely is the hardest part, just wondering if this hadn't happened, what would life be like?
Yeah.
But then the part that gives me peace is if that hadn't happened, we have to think about all the families that wouldn't have the stories that they have from Gold Rush, and just the amount of deliveries that I've done with you guys and seen like just how grateful the families are and how thankful they are. Like, I just think something would be different, and I know that this happened for a reason, and that's Christian's way of telling us that we're doing it right and everything happened the way it was supposed to. And I just find peace in that. Like, really, that's all you can do all these years later. Like, there's only so many years and like lonely bad days that you can be like angry at the world for letting him go, but you just have to be like, I know that he was meant to go through this for a reason, to touch everybody's lives who knows his story and who knows about Gold Rush. And that's the part that gives me peace. And I know I never thought I would think that way. I was angry at the world for so long for taking him, but I know that he put this energy around me where I'm finally at peace that his life is touching other people's lives and making a huge difference. And that's what he wanted. I know that if he was still here, he wouldn't want all the attention of people all the time. I know that this was what was meant to happen, and I still, more than anything, wish I could have another hug and have him around. I mean, he was my big brother, and I know that even though he's not physically here anymore, that's not going to change. So,
yeah, that's a good perspective, and getting to that point isn't easy.
Yeah,
because I mean, anybody who's lost a child or sibling, it's a battle. I mean, even though you have peace knowing where they are, and that's wonderful, it's also hard to really come to terms with the finality of it. And it's, so I mean, almost 16 years later, it's taken a while, I think.
Yeah.
To really, really feel that in your heart, understandably.
And like another thing that I was actually talking to one of my friends' parents about this the other day. They asked me the same question. They're like, how has this all changed you as a person? And I was like, another thing that I've come to realize in like the last couple of years specifically, because I mean, he died 16 years ago, and still I'll have days where I just want to like cry and scream at the world. Like, why did this happen? But it just really teaches you that you never know what somebody is going through. Because, and I made the example, like, if you woke up in the morning and I remember you used to say, like, in the cold Seattle winter, Christian used to go out to the car and like warm up the car or something, or you used to go out to the car and warm it up.
Yeah, turn on the seat heaters.
Yeah. And let's say you're on your way to the children's hospital for treatment, and you stop at Starbucks. Like, the person taking your order at Starbucks or the person next to you in line, they have no idea the burden that you carry. They really have no idea what you're going through. And that's something that I've tried to take into my daily life. Like, the person next to me at the pump at the gas station, they could be carrying something like this, and you just have no idea. And it just kind of teaches you to just have grace on other people and be kind. And I think COVID reminded me of that. Just everyone deals with horrible, unspeakable things in their life, and everybody carries things with them that are really hard. And it just teaches you to just have grace on other people and be kind, because truly, like, someone being kind to our family during a time of need was like life-changing for us.
Yeah.
And completely, even all these years later, it stuck with us.
Yeah. We were so blessed. We had so much support, and, people coming out of the woodwork to, be there for you guys and our family. What you were talking about, Christian. So what things that you're doing, have done, that kind of thing, do you know, not think, he looks down and just is like, good job, Kendall?
I think specifically me finishing college, because high school, I liked high school, but high school for our family was really hard. I struggled a lot with the loss of Christian because that was the age that was like the age he didn't make it to. He died when he was 14 and I started high school at 13 or 14. And I think that was like, my anger really set in those years. And I really was like so mad at the world. And I was like, I never really thought that I would get to these milestones. And so I know that he carried me through high school and college. And there were so many times in college where I was like, I'll just get a job and I'll work my way up. I don't want to go to college anymore. It's just, I don't know what I want to do. It's just a lot of work. Like, I don't want to do it.
I'll kick your butt if you quit.
And I know that he was putting in my brain, suck it up, do it. You'll be proud of yourself. I'll be proud of you. And I know he was like, I didn't get to go to college. You need to do this for me. Like, you need to do what you know is right. And that was probably one of the major moments, was graduating college for me. It's not that like the school part was hard. I was just like not passionate about being in a classroom. I'm more of a social butterfly than anything. So I just think that me graduating from college was one of the moments where he was like, thank you for doing this for me. And I really was doing it for him and our family, because I know that it would have made him really, really proud.
That's a cool gift to give him.
Yeah.
And yourself, and us. But so you have a lot of insight, because it has almost been 16 years since he died and 18 since we were going through this. Do you have any insight to give some other siblings who are going through this now, that may be encouraging to them?
I would have to say, like, just be there for them. They are your siblings. They truly are a gift from God, and you can't get through this without them, and they can't get through it without you. I have so many friends whose siblings got through their battle and everything, and I just see them flourishing, and they're like in their 20s and 30s now, and they're just like the best of friends. And I wish that was the case. Christian's still my best friend, even though he's not physically here. But just be there for each other, because honestly, the relationships with your family and the relationships you have with your loved ones they're going to carry you through the hardest times in your life. And it's just something, it's like a plant. If you water it, it will continue to grow and it will continue to be healthy and flourish. And there will be bad times and storms and stuff like that. But as long as you're there for each other and you take care of each other, it will all be okay.
And that's comfortable knowing.
Yeah.
No matter how good or bad or whatever, they have my back.
Yeah. And not everything has to be about their sickness too, because that doesn't define them. It's not their identity. It's just a tough time that they're going through. And it's just a tough, dealt of cards, or whatever the phrase is.
Hand to be dealt. I feel like that's what's so great about siblings is what you just said. It's not their identity. One of the reasons why Christian loved it when Garrett and Kendall would come is because as soon as they'd arrive, Garrett's like, let's get the video games out. They were playing video games, having a blast. And then Kendall, you could make him laugh more than anybody else. And some of the pictures I have are just so funny of you guys making, he got his mind off that he was sick when you guys were there. And so I think that's one thing where siblings are so effective, of just letting them have fun together, without reminding them that, oh, it's all about this. What can we do to help siblings? You know how focused we are, Gold Rush Cure Foundation is on our Pot of Gold program. We always include the sibling not just in the gifts, but the verbal accolades, because we want them to know they're just as special, they're just as loved. Is there anything else our community in general, or even Gold Rush, can do to help siblings know and feel loved?
I think, honestly, doing exactly what we're doing with never leaving the siblings out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighting that battle too,
Mm-hmm.
even if
Absolutely.
just because they don't have the illness themselves and they don't have to go through the chemo directly, they're going through it all too.
Yeah.
So it's so important when organizations like Gold Rush include the siblings, because that's something that stuck out to me when Christian was going through chemo, was just the organizations that would help and would actually include us, which was very, very, very few of them. Mm-hmm. It was mostly people and people that we knew.
It was mostly friends. It wasn't so much organizations. Yeah.
It was mostly people, either close family friends or a friend of a friend's that we didn't even know. Mm-hmm. Those were the people that made us feel included and really put like a personal touch. If they would send something to Christian, they'd send something to me and Garrett too. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, oh, cool. Like, they see us. They see that we had to drop out of school and go to the secondary school in Seattle and sacrifice all of our time and our friends and everything too. And we sit in this hospital room with Christian every day too. And I know there were so many times that Garrett and I were like, just put on the back burner, which Christian should have been the first priority, which he was, because he had this illness and he was fighting it so hard. But there were also times where we're kids. Mm-hmm. Like, it completely shakes your world at that age. I mean, at any age, really, where you're like, okay, my whole world, my whole life that I've known is different now. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that, just kind of forget about that the siblings are having to go through all of this too. Yep. So I think that's, as a community and as a foundation, like, it's so important to include them and really make them feel special too, because our world,
it's their battle too.
Yeah. Our world was absolutely turned upside down as well.
Okay, so something you just said that is so poignant, and we got to do something with this, Jeremy. They see us. They see us. That statement that you just said gives me goosebumps and brings tears to my eyes, because it's just, we do see them. Because I know they feel, so many siblings don't feel seen or heard or loved or anything. And when you said that a minute ago, they see us, that was very powerful to me. I mean, I just feel like I love that, that we're able to do that, and that some people did, make you feel seen and loved and cared about. Okay, well, closing up, you have so much insight. There's so many layers to you. You have so much wisdom, and a lot of our siblings do, going through what they have. But you just, all these years later, you have so much. What are some closing thoughts that you want people to know about you? That you want people to just know in general? About all of this. About
me specifically, I don't know. I think I'm just
wonderful.
A regular, an amazing, wonderful, regular 25-year-old. But I mean, something about me that, again, I was talking to my friend's mom about this the other day. Like, I still feel everything that I felt back then. The loss of someone you love, it just really never leaves. That void is always there. But somebody who's going through something hard, you can always make it positive. You can always turn lemons into lemonade. You can always, like, for me, it took a long time because I had to learn all these lessons on my own, but just having grace on people around you is so important, and don't ever think it's not. Like, don't ever think a small act of kindness is too small, because everybody's fighting something that you don't know anything about. And when you go through something hard, like, and in my case, a loss, don't let it change you in a negative way. Don't let it make you turn bitter towards the world. You're going to have moments where you're angry about it. But the person that's physically left the earth, in my case, Christian, he did not want me to be that person after. He did not want me to turn bitter and mean. He wanted me to learn from going through something hard and being there for other people in the end. I know that now. It took me a long time to learn that. But you go through everything for a reason, and everyone has things that they deal with that are horrible, unspeakable things. But it's just important to be kind to everybody around you, because there's a saying, it's like we're all just walking each other home, and it's important just to everybody's living life on this earth for the first time, and we're all experiencing things and learning lessons, and just being kind to one another is something that I've learned is most important, and being there for each other.
And you are doing that a lot. And probably when you're volunteering with Gold Rush, so when you deliver pots of gold and things like that, do you feel Christian going, good job, Kendall? Like cheering you on and just being proud of you?
Yeah, I feel him. I definitely feel him there in every delivery, just being like, this is what I wanted you to do with this. This is what I didn't want you to sit at home and be like, why, God, why did you take my brother? Which is what, honestly, the first couple years after I lost him, that's what I was doing. But every delivery and every small thing that we do for Gold Rush, day in and day out, I know he's so happy that we were able to turn something so horrible into something so positive for so many people. It's touched hundreds and hundreds of people. And I know that's exactly what he wanted. And it's just kind of like every delivery is like a hug from him, just being like, this is another family that is able to smile and able to have joy within each other and play with these gifts together. And kind of just for a moment, cancer is not the first thing that they think about. It's looking at their kid and seeing how happy they are with the gifts that they didn't know were coming. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see, is just how much I just know that he's happy about everything that we do.
Well, good work. Good job. I love you. You're doing wonderful. And, hopefully some other siblings and families will watch this and be encouraged that, there's hope and joy even the further they go. So thank you for joining us on Rush Podcast. Thank you, Kendall, for joining us.
Thank you. I love you.
And I love you too. Until next time.